all these great saints and sages and all that. But I thought I should do my own research or my own study of the Gita. So fortunately, I had studied Sanskrit in my school days for 8 years. I had read Sanskrit. I was really interested in Sanskrit studies also. So I took to, of course, it's all long ago. I'm 86 years old now. When I started writing about Gita, I was 76 years old. So there was, I had enough time to forget all the Sanskrit I had read. So I had to polish up again. Fortunately, I could catch up. And then these people like Motilal Banaras Das and all their book stalls helped me a lot. Beautiful dictionaries, beautiful commentaries, beautiful versa, Sanskrit grammar. Sanskrit grammar is very complex. So all that I had to again refresh myself.
Hello, viewers. Good evening. Today we are meeting Mr. Mohan sir. He has done this book with really great of efforts, and it's been published. And all these details we'll come to know by his golden words.
Thank you, Mr. Venkatarao. This book, Gita Kathamrutham, it is called, is a attempt of mine to tell the great wisdom contained in the Bhagavad Gita through the medium of short stories. Gita, of course, contains wisdom. It is one of the most ancient spiritual literature in the world, and many people have written commentaries on the Gita, but nobody has come out with the uh, ultimate guidance provided in the Gita for leading a practical, ethical, successful life. My idea in writing this book is my target audience is the young man or young woman about to step out into life, into active working life. If they have read this, absorbed the wisdom of Gita and decide to lead their lives based on the teachings of the Gita, it can be guaranteed that they will be very successful in their lives, very virtuous activities they will get into, and will be greatly loved, and they will lead a very peace of mind, full of peace of mind also. That's why I wrote this book.
I've heard that you've written many stories and given nice morals in these stories for the coming generation. Can you explain a small story which you have written in this book, sir?
My stories vary in length from very short stories to one story which is almost as long as a novel. So, but I would like, since you have asked me to tell one of the stories as a sample, I will tell one of the shorter stories. In this story, there's a king who is a man with a lot of spiritual leanings. One day, what happens is he comes out of his palace in the early morning and takes a walk in the garden when he finds suddenly a bad smell coming from somewhere. Then he sees that it is the scavenger who had cleaned the toilets and latrines and was carrying the night soil in a steel pan on his head. And the foul smell was coming from that night soil. And worse was that the soil, some of it was spilling on the man. It was spilling on his face, on his body. And then he only had a short broomstick in his hand with which he had done the cleaning. It must have been terrible doing the job. And when the king saw all these problems of the man, he felt terrible pity for the man. But you see, in those days, it was not possible for any other way of disposing of night soil. So his job was absolutely a necessity for the family, for the society. But then he could certainly have been looked after better. So when the king goes to the court in the morning, he calls the person in charge of the palace maintenance and says the man should be provided with the correct tools for doing the dirty job. One thing, he wanted him to be given a wheelbarrow so that he will carry the night soil not on his head in a pan, and then a long handled broom so that he can sweep the toilets without coming into contact with them, and also a sort of protective clothing made of fiber so that even if there is any spill, everything will fall on him. So like that, he found a solution for the man's problems, and he was certainly going to be happy that this man's problem is solved in one way. Same afternoon, the king went for an inspection of the local market. When he entered the market, once again a very foul smell was emanating somewhere and hitting his nostrils. Then he found that it was coming out of a garbage dump where people were, the vegetable vendors and the meat sellers and the other people were dumping all their garbage and their waste, and that was all rotting and giving very foul smell all over. There were rats and bandicoots running over the place, and some of them had died and adding further to the smell and so on. Naturally, the king was very angry. he called the merchants and asked them why they were allowing things to happen in such a way. Then the merchants told him that this is not, they are also very unhappy with the situation, but then they had no way, other way of disposing the garbage and the dirt. Earlier, they had a big dump provided for that purpose outside the town, where they could carry all the waste and dump in carts and dump them. But then, over a period of time, that road had got washed away, but it was not replaced, so they had no other way. Then the king called his treasurer and told him, this is something which is to be done immediately. You give these people 50 gold coins, and the merchants, you collect another 50 gold coins from your side. Then together with that money, you rebuild the road. I'll come after 2 months, and I must be seeing all the road has been correctly built, and the market is no longer having this sort of foul smell. Then that evening there was some dance performance, and the king witnessed the performance. And there was one particular girl who he thought was very pretty, and so he wanted her to keep him company for the evening. So he sent word through his a messenger saying, "Please bring that girl for my company for the evening." The girl was told, and she was extremely happy that the king was asking her to be her companion, and so immediately she was very excited. She put some cheap scent on her neck and ears, and then she used some cheap hair oil for scenting her hair, and then she stuffed her mouth with some scented tobacco and all that, and she rushed. But in the same time, she was also very nervous, so she was sweating profusely. And ultimately, when she was taken to the king's presence, she was stinking like anything because of the cheap perfume, the cheap tobacco, and all the sweat and all that. And the king was got very angry. He immediately asked his servants, take this woman, throw her out, give her a couple of lashes with a whip, and send her back. Then next morning, when the king got up and he was thinking over what had happened the previous day, he thought that on three occasions the factor which had put him into action was the same thing, a foul smell. But then he had different reacted in three different ways. In the morning, he had felt sympathy for the scavenger and asked that he should be given proper tools. And in the afternoon, he found that he immediately took strict action, scolded the merchants, and set right matters. And he had a very practical solution for the situation. And so he was a very practical man in the afternoon. In the evening, the same thing happened. This dancing girl was perhaps equally deserving of pity like the scavenger. She must have also been from a poor background, but he had acted in a most harsh way, asking her to be taken away with his whip lashes and all that. So he had a minister of whom he was very fond of, and he asked the minister, "Why did I react in this way, three different ways to this?" When in all the cases, the controlling factor was a bad smell. Then the minister, who was a very learned man, told him that is because every man has given by God three gunas, or three natural instincts, as sattva guna, rajasic guna, and tamo guna. Sattva guna means noble guna or noble instincts. Rajasic guna means active, practical instincts. And tamo guna means evil or base instincts. Now, in the morning time, sattva guna rules the mind. And that's why king was able to react in a sattvic way, or in a very kind way. In the afternoon time, the rajasic guna rules the mind, and so that's why he was able to find a solution for a problem in a most practical way. Then in the night time or later evening time, the tamasic guna takes over. The tamas, or the darkness, takes over the mind, and that's why he was behaving so badly with that girl. So this is the explanation for three different behaviors. Although in all the three cases, the causative factor was the same. Now, the point which is made in the Bhagavad Gita is that God has given these three gunas to all the people without exception. We all have in us the sattvic part of us, the rajasic part of us, and the tamasic part of us. And at different times, the gunas, different form of guna rules our mind. Normally, morning time is the time when sattvic guna predominates. Afternoon or the later morning or forenoon or afternoon time is the Rajasic guna rules over us, and the night time the Tamasic guna, the dark part sides take over us. So also young people, young children, and right up to teenage, the human being is always controlled by the extreme selfishness and inconsiderate behavior which characterizes particularly the teenage people and all. That is because at that time the Tamasic guna rules the mind of the person. Then, as one enters working life and middle age and all that, the Rajasic guna takes over. So the man or the woman makes practical decisions, leads a very practical, active life. Then, when one reaches the old age, the Sattvic guna takes over. That's why mostly old people you find are kind and nice, and because they are not in competition with the world, their life's work is done. They only want to spread love and happiness. So that sort of Sattvic ideas come in old age. So that is how the Gita explains how each person is endowed with three different gunas of three different types, and each guna is to be, the Gita's advice is you must consciously allow yourselves to be ruled by the correct guna. But that is as much as possible. Be sattvic in your activities. That is what the Gita teaches us.
Sir, it's really nice how you have explained these type of gunas. But like Kamsa or old people also, they were having some ridiculous or funny way of acting towards small things. And even youngsters were some place they were humble. So it's only the type of thing, or it depends on the nature of the person also.
See, much of the ills of society today, I would say, is because we have forgotten our own teachings of Bhagavad Gita. That's why, as I said in the earlier, the very purpose of my writing this book is that the message of Gita should be carried to the people at the correct age. There's no point somebody reading the Gita at an old age when he has retired and at the late stage in life when he's no longer active. There's no point in reading the Gita at that time, though unfortunately that's what's being done. Gita is treated as a time past study for retired life in old age past the time. That's not it. Gita must be taught and learnt by young people who are about to enter life, active working lives. That will, as I said, will give them the correct perspective, the correct guidance to life, and ultimately the whole world will be a better place. You had said that these things were bad even earlier on. That is because there were bad people who, though the atmosphere around was much more clean than those days, people were much more dharmic and sattvic. Still, there were bad people around, that was unavoidable. But today, when we have the solution, when we have the means for conveying the message of Gita to people through various modern scientific techniques available as through YouTube or to other email communications or whatever, through electronic media, we should make full use of it to educate our people and the youngsters particularly in the right way, so that ultimately the world will become a better place to live in.
So it was at that time. This channel is mostly about environment and thing. I'm really happy to have you on this channel, sir. At that time itself, when people were not properly putting that garbage in a place, the stink had come. So the same thing runs from that time to this time, and their story also explained it very nicely. The king was very wise to make arrangements to make that place a better place. By it's a nice message you have been passed to this story. I hope like this should reach out well to the students or students community or youngsters. And where do you get this book from, sir? Like if someone wants to purchase or something like that.
The book is available on Flipkart and Amazon, so it is possible to purchase them online. Otherwise, if you are in any big metropolis in India like Delhi or Calcutta or Chennai or Lucknow, there are shops run by the publishers themselves. Those are shops run by the publisher named Motilal Banarsi Das. So if you look for Motilal Banarsi Das in your city, you may be able to buy the book directly off the counter. But Amazon and Flipkart books are very quickly delivered. They're nicely packed. So I would suggest that anyone interested should first get it online through the online sales agencies.
Uh, Sir has given the place where the book can be found. Here also Motilal Banarsi Das. I think it's in Mylapore,
In
near
Mylapore, in
near
Chennai.
Vivek's near Shanti Vihar. near Vidya Mandir School, and he's made a wonderful book. You can just show the book, sir. So this is the book. Viewers, and it will be available in this set store by sir. If anyone would like to have this book and get it through Amazon and Flipkart, I'll thank you for giving me this time, sir.